Everybody, good morning. Today's show is the third in a series of shows that we've been doing called the Ask Me Anything, the Best of the WWJAHD show. If you've been on the last two shows, I think it's two, what did we do? I did one for listings, a listing agent, and one for buyers. I did this whole big spiel in the beginning about what the WWJAHD show is all about. I'm not going to do that. I got bored with it, just watching the videos myself or listening to them. Like, okay, I've heard this. I don't need to hear it again. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into the material. But before I do, a couple things is, first of all, the subject today is about, can an introvert succeed in a real estate career? Obviously, the answer is yes. But, okay, so how do you do that? And actually, most of the show today is going to be just answering questions that I've gotten through the years from introverted real estate agents and kind of how to keep their sanity, how to, not necessarily do all the things that they're being told they have to do. So that's the point of today's show. Let's go ahead and get started, and then I'll remind you later in the show that we're still doing the favorites tips. So, all right, the first question, I think, is the obvious one that we need to answer, and that is, can an introvert succeed in real estate? And if so, how do they do it? Okay, well, the answer clearly is yes. An introvert can succeed in real estate and actually can succeed pretty big time, all right? I am an introvert, and I would consider myself to have been successful. So, and I know other introverts who are successful too. So the simple answer to the question is, well, yeah. However, there's some things that as an introvert, you're going to need to be aware of for yourself and be willing or able to implement in your own business model. So a couple kind of ground rules, caveats here. First of all, if you're an introvert and you want to succeed in real estate, you need to stay true to yourself. You need to respect your personality. You need to acknowledge your personality, that you are not an extrovert, and that's okay. We'll talk about that. But you need to stay true to who you are and not try to change yourself into a salesperson or an extrovert. Okay, so you got to stay true to yourself. And that means you're going to have to be willing to ignore a lot of the advice that you're going to get from extroverted real estate agents, extroverted brokers, and extroverted real estate trainers, writers, coaches, mentors. Okay, so those are kind of the two ground rules. Now, one of the things I always need to mention when I talk about introverted real estate agents is that introversion is not the same as painfully shy. It's not the same as socially anxious. And so I'll find that the sell whistle message attracts people who they're not, they may be introverts, but it's more than that they're terribly shy. They maybe have some social anxiety, some social phobias, and they feel like, wow, Jennifer says I can succeed in real estate because I'm an introvert. And I'll tell you, that's really probably not true. A lot of introverts, and I think I have a question in here somewhere, somebody says, I'm so antisocial. I just really don't like people that much. How can I succeed? And my answer is going to be, if that's true, I don't know that you can. Real estate is a people business. Now, I don't mean that you succeed because you love people, but you do have to interact with people. You are, as the real estate agent, a lot of times you're kind of the quarterback of the whole transaction. So you are going to be interacting with people, a lot of people, doing complicated things, stressful things, emotional things. And so if you truly don't like people, then you're going to have a really hard time in this business. So I want to differentiate between, what is an introvert and what is somebody who's antisocial. At least, they think they are. So again, I think I did this on my Facebook Live the other day, just, my ramblings was, stop saying that about yourself. If you've ever said, I'm antisocial, I don't like people, I'm not a people person, I'm terrible at relationships, whatever. unless that's true, I mean, like really, really true, maybe even if it is true, but stop saying that. If you're in real estate and you're doing okay, then you're not antisocial. You don't hate people, all right? Just, you have preferences when it comes to socializing. You have preferences when it comes to your energy, but stop telling yourself that you're antisocial. And I think that'll actually help you a lot in some of the things we're going to talk about today. So, let's see. It is possible, and you're going to have to be a confident introvert to succeed in real estate. So again, I think we introverts feel like we have to apologize for who we are. We have to overcome our introversion. And that's absolutely not true. You can be proud of who you are, and you should be. Okay, now, will your introversion get in the way of your career sometimes? Yes, it will. But I mean, probably extroversion gets in the way of your career too. You know, we bring a different skill set to the table. And as long as, again, we stay true to our skill set, stay true to our talents and our personalities and our preferences, we can do really, really well. Now, this isn't a, rah-rah speech, like rev them all up and tell everybody to go out and get them because, introverts rock. But it really is true that an introvert can be an extraordinary real estate agent. So we're going to talk more about that, obviously, today. But here's how you have to do it. I believe there are two paths to success in a real estate business. There is the traditional path to success, which is the power prospector, the rainmaker, the person that focuses more on their prospecting than on their client service. And this is a business model that can work. Financially, it can work beautifully. Beautifully, that's probably not the right word. Anyway, but the person who is very good at prospecting and doesn't mind prospecting, and that's where they focus their energy, that person can be very successful. That model does not work for introverts. The model that works for us, the path to success that works for us, is to do a very good job for your clients, to create a business that you're proud of, that you can promote without feeling silly and cheesy and pitchy and salesy. And as long as you're proud of your business and you're proud of the service that you provide, and you do some of these other things, that you have to do to build a business, that is definitely a path to success. So if you honestly never want to prospect ever, there's a way to do that. And as an introvert, you're actually in a great position to put yourself in the position of never prospecting again. So, okay. So can introverts succeed in real estate? Yep. Stay true to yourself. Focus on the path to success that feels right to you, which I'm going to tell you needs to be creating and providing an exceptional client experience, which you're going to be good at. You're going to be really good at that part, and you'll be fine. Jennifer, I have a client that I really like, and she's referred lots of people to me, but she's involved in a MLM, what's that, multi-level marketing program, and she keeps asking me to host a party for her. This is not something I would enjoy or be any good at, and honestly, my house isn't big enough for such a thing. How can I politely tell her no without jeopardizing our relationship? I think I've been asked a couple of times to host, I don't know what they call it. It used to be Tupperware parties, things like that. And to me, the answer to this question is so easy. Is like, hey, no, I'm not doing that. Honestly, I think it's probably kind of rude for somebody to ask me to. But anyway, yeah, no, I am not hosting a party for anybody in my house so that somebody can come over and sell them stuff. That to me is just unbelievably uncomfortable, unbelievably out of my comfort zone. And I just can't. I'm not sure. If somebody asked me to do that, that would just be weird. But anyway, maybe that's the difference between introverts and extroverts, is the extroverts, he's absolutely nothing uncomfortable about that. And we introverts are going, oh my heavens. So anyway, the question was, that is really not something I'm comfortable doing. How do I tell her no without jeopardizing our relationship? And I think this one would be a pretty easy one for me. And this is the sort of the WWJAHD show, is if somebody asked me that, I would probably just laugh and say, Oh my goodness, that is so far out of my comfort zone. I'd be happy to help you do it somewhere else, but yeah, no, I am not a, a host a party in my house, kind of gal. But thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate it, but I'm not your gal. And I think that would be very easy for me to do. So, basically just say no. You don't have to be embarrassed. You don't even have to really apologize. Just, no, that's way outside my comfort zone. And yeah, but I'd be happy to help you, if you find somebody else to do it. I'd be happy to be your coat check girl at the party or something. So, okay, that was an easy one to start off with. Okay. And these are in absolutely no order, but they are questions that have come in over the years that I've compiled for introverts. That's where they came from. Okay, Jennifer, my office pushes us to do at least 36 transactions per year, but I'm an introvert and I simply don't think I'm capable of handling that much business. How did you do it? That's so interesting because I believe with all my heart that every full-time real estate agent can and should do at least 36 transactions a year. I mean, that's actually the number I came up with. So I don't know, where this office came up with that number. That's my number. But 36 transactions a year, that evens out to just 3 a month. So to me, that is completely, utterly doable. And I would think every real estate agent would want to do at least 36 transactions a year. In fact, that is probably going to be one of the live workshops that we have here later in the year, is how to do at least 36 transactions a year. I love talking about that. So, but anyway, that's not the question. What I thought was interesting about this question is I'm an introvert and I don't think I can handle that much business. And so I'm wondering, okay, what does being an introvert have to do with handling a lot of business? And so if you have any thoughts on that, shoot that in, because I was a little confused about that. But I don't know if what she was asking was, how do I get that much business? How do I actually go out and, drum up that much business? But that's really not what the question was. The question was, how do I handle that much business? Well, shoot, I think an introvert's going to be able to handle that many transactions, more so perhaps than an extrovert, because we introverts tend to be good at details. We're not out there in the world socializing our little backsides off. We're, would actually prefer to be back at the office working, taking care of our clients. So again, this is one of those things where I wonder if, we're using introversion as an excuse to not do something, or that we're not doing something, and it really isn't at all related. So, now if you don't want to do that much business for some reason, or maybe you're thinking it's overwhelming to have that much contact with people, because if you're doing 36 transactions a year, then yeah, you're going to be out there having contact with people. But, honestly, I think an introvert, at least from the handling the level of business, is going to be better at it than an extrovert. Now, an extrovert maybe is better at going out there and getting all these people, to hire him or her. But the nice thing about the business model for us, the path to success for us, which is provide an exceptional client experience, is that if you do that, you don't have to prospect. And so this is something, if we do the workshop later in the year, I'll get to. But here's the beautiful thing. If you're doing multiple transactions at once, so you're doing 3, 4, 5, transactions at once, different, you have listings and buyers, different stages of the transaction. Every time you're interacting with these people professionally, which really shouldn't be that hard for introverts. Interacting with people professionally really isn't, shouldn't be that problematic, because you have something to talk about. You're not chit-chatting, you're not doing small talk. But every time you're communicating with these people, you're building a relationship. You're actually building your sphere of influence. And if you're doing a great job, that's a powerful relationship that you're building, even, not just with your buyers or sellers, but even with, the lenders and the appraisers and the inspectors and the homeowners association. Everybody that you're involved in each transaction, in a way, becomes a member of your sphere of influence. And if you're doing a good job, they're going to be impressed with you and they're going to remember that. So one of the things I believe with all my heart is that once you have a database of 100 very satisfied past clients, so you've had 100 closings and these people were all happy with you, you don't have to prospect ever again. That is enough to generate enough business for you for the rest of your career, as long as you stay in touch with these people on a reasonably regular basis. So, if you don't want to prospect, you don't like the idea of prospecting, I hate the idea of prospecting, then just try to do lots and lots of real estate transactions and tell yourself that you can do them and build that database as fast as you can, and you'll never have to prospect again. So, all right. Let's see. I've been attending networking events and I find myself feeling assaulted by all the people there wanting to sell me something, but I worry that if I don't buy from them, they won't refer me. What should I do? Okay. I don't get the whole concept of networking events. I really don't. To me, and maybe I don't know what a networking event is supposed to be, but the few that I've been to and what I hear about them is that you've got a lot of people going to a party or something trying to sell their stuff to all the other people there. And I mean, that just sounds gross. And I mean, it's not, most of the people I'm guessing at this networking event don't have any use for the stuff the other people are selling, and they're not all that interested in doing it. So if you go to a networking event, and correct me guys if I don't know what I'm talking about, but if you go to a networking event and somebody's trying to sell you something and you don't buy it, and so they're not going to refer you, I don't know, are they going to refer you anyway? I can see the discomfort. You're there, so I guess ostensibly you're at this networking event because you want to play nice, you want to do the reciprocal stuff, but you can't just buy something from everybody at the event. I don't get it. I really don't understand that. But my simple answer to that is don't go to networking events. I don't know if that's an introvert or extrovert thing, but that doesn't sound like fun to me at all. That does not sound like an environment that I would be at all comfortable in. And if I'm not comfortable, I'm not very charming. So, anytime anyone says, I go to networking events and I'm so uncomfortable and I just, what should I do? It's like, well, then don't go. There's plenty of ways out there to meet people. There's plenty of ways to have comfortable conversations with people that don't involve going to some pitch fest where everybody's trying to pitch each other on their stuff and nobody cares. The only thing everybody wants is to pitch their stuff. They don't care what you're pitching. They might listen politely, but no, just say no to networking events if they don't sound like fun to you. So, all right. I'm going to skip that one. That's not really an introvert question. Okay. And it's interesting. A lot of the questions that I picked out for this, they were asked by introverts, but they're not specifically about being an introvert. Some of them are, but, and that's why, total aside, is I don't have any products that I sell or services that I sell specifically for introverts. And, sometimes I say, well, I need to make a program for introverts, but there really isn't a program for introverts. It's just, what am I going to do? Tell you to go out and fix yourself? No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you you're fine. You're great the way you are. Okay, that's the program. Thank you. But everything that I do, every answer that I give, every program that I create, every class that I teach is going to be suitable for an introvert because I am one. So, even if I wanted to do a class for an extrovert, I wouldn't know where to start. I don't know what to tell you to do because that's just not my experience. So anyway, next question. There are people I see all the time, but only briefly. What can I say to make them care about my real estate career? What can I say to let them know I'm in real estate? So people I see all the time, but only briefly. How do I bring up real estate? Okay. There's a lot of different ways to answer this. But the main thing to understand, I think, is that nobody out there that you see only briefly, or even not briefly, but nobody really cares about your real estate career. And that's kind of a relief because you may be out there feeling like you need to make people care about your real estate career and you need to do your elevator speech and you need to, have some clever realtor pin or something that people will see it and go, oh, you're in real estate? I have a buyer and a seller for you. And that's just not going to happen. And so the trick is not to make people care about your real estate career or care about you as a real estate agent. They don't. It's not going to happen. So just don't worry about it. I mean, maybe your very, very closest friend might, but in general, people that you see out in the world, they're not remotely interested in what you do for a living, and they're not interested in, in talking specifically to a real estate agent, probably. Now, there may very well be people out there in the world, a couple things. First of all, there may be people out there in the world that you see briefly that have an interest in real estate, not you as a real estate agent, but in real estate. And there are probably ways to just start up a conversation, and when it's right, we'll get to that. But the trick really isn't to have somebody to inspire someone to be interested in your real estate career off the bat or interested in you as a real estate agent. The trick is to inspire people to be interested in you as a person. And then once they're interested in you as a person, then they'll be a little more interested in what you do for a living. And then it just progresses from there to where they actually would think of you as a real estate agent. And, somebody that you see a lot, but only briefly, that's not a relationship. But if you're how do you get people interested in you? With a fancy elevator speech? No. You get people interested in you by being interested in them. Now, I'm not particularly good at that. So that's really kind of easy for me to say is, well, just go out and be interested in people. I'm a little shy. That's kind of hard for me. Just because even just starting up, the conversations, but, when it feels right and when you can express interest in somebody else, then they will reciprocate that interest in a lot of times. And sometimes they won't. The person that, say, makes your coffee every morning at Starbucks, they are probably never going to be a source of business for you. But if you're pleasant to them and maybe, they have on, some pin or piece of jewelry, or they got a haircut that's really pretty, comment on it. Okay, just show an interest in them, and then you'll be a lot more likely for those people to show an interest in you at some point. But to me, the punchline here is don't lead with your real estate career. Lead with you as a pleasant, decent person who is interested in other people. Next question. What should I do if a friend tells me about someone who is moving and suggests I contact them? Have you ever had that happen to you and you wonder, how do I do that exactly? And again, this isn't about being an introvert necessarily, but I'm thinking an extrovert would hear this question, what should I do if a friend tells me about someone who's moving and suggests I contact them? They'd be like, well, give me the phone number, I'll pick up the phone. It's kind of funny. In my rescue work, I'm not a pick up the phone kind of gal and call somebody and ask them for something. And I'm terrible at it. And some of my partners in the rescue, they're not. I'm like, well, do you mind calling this, company and asking them if they'll sponsor? Yeah, sure, no problem. And I'm like, wow, that's out of my comfort zone. So anyway, what should I do if a friend tells me about someone who is moving and suggests I contact them? That would make me mildly uncomfortable to do that, to just out of the blue call somebody up and say, I'm a real estate agent and I hear that you're moving. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe that's a perfectly natural thing to do, but it would make me nervous. And maybe this needs to be one of our ground rules too. If something makes you nervous, if you're not comfortable with it, you either need to get comfortable with it or don't do it, because your discomfort is going to be very apparent to the other person. And so, they're going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to feel awkward. You're going to find yourself, if you're reaching out and doing something that you're not comfortable with, you'll be hesitant. You'll be apologetic. You'll be defensive. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes maybe you just need practice. But for me, I need to get comfortable with it before it's going to do any good. In early December, my rescue was doing an auction. And part of the deal was that we had to go out to local businesses and get an item donated. And I was all fired up to do it. I'm like, I can do this. This is, for some reason, I thought this was going to be easy for me. And it wasn't. I spent 3 hours going to strip malls and walking in and asking for stuff. Oh my God, I went home and just about cried. And I got like 3 things out of 30 because I'm not good at it. Somebody else who's good at it, they could have walked those strip malls and they'd come out with something from every single business, but I'm not good at it. And so I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm the president. I don't have to. I'm not doing it. Anyway, sorry, let me answer the question. So to me, the answer to this for me anyway would be to thank the person for thinking of you and asking them to make the introduction. So I just don't, I would not be able to reach out to somebody under those circumstances and just kind of basically cold or warm call it. So just ask the person to make the connection and go from there. And if they're not willing to do it, then let it go. Don't worry about it. Okay. Next question. I'm a detail fanatic and I'd like to partner with a top producing agent as their right-hand woman. Any suggestions? I think if you can get the right relationship, this is a fantastic opportunity for an introvert, because I did it back in the middle of my career. I did it for a year. And I mean, the relationship ended, but it wasn't the right relationship, but it could have been. But basically, I brought all of my organizational skills, my detail-oriented skills, my attention to detail. Did I already said that. And I brought all that to the table. And the person that I was working with was a power prospector. And so together, we really made quite a team. And then after that relationship, I made $100,000 that year, by the way, doing that. Anyway, after that, I paired up with another person that I was more compatible with. And we were together for 2 years running a business in Denver. And I was the detail, I was the admin, I was the managerial partner on the team. And she was I'm going to hold broker open houses. I will call up, people and talk to them. And it was wonderful. It was such a good relationship. And what was beautiful about it was that my part of the job was easy. The managerial admin, managing our listings, I took care of the details, and she was out there doing the prospecting stuff. And she thought she had the easy part. I thought I had the easy part because we were working to our strengths. And I just remember her saying, Jennifer, I am so in awe of your organizational skills. How do you do that? And she felt lucky. And I felt lucky that she was out there generating all this business for us. So if you can find the right relationship and make that happen where you're the detail person and that other person is the, go out there in the world person. The issue with that, and you're going to have to find the right relationship. The issue with that is that a lot of these power prospectors, these rainmakers, they don't think much of the details. They're not super respectful of our skills. And so they consider us to be transaction coordinators or, assistants and, $12 an hour. Well, I'm not a $12 an hour gal. And I tell you, if I take over the details of your business, you're going to make money off of it. And I need to be an equal partner. And that's going to be the issue, especially, if you're out there just sort of, looking at the top producers and saying, I can get your life under control. I can get your business under control. If they're not all that excited about client service, providing an exceptional client experience, then they're not going to respect what you bring to the table. Now, they might hire you, but you're, probably not going to be an equal partner. But otherwise, I think that's a great thing that can happen for an introvert. So would love to hear your thoughts on that, actually, if anybody's done that. Okay. That's not really. Here's one that's definitely introvert. Wait a minute. Let me check my questions. So Rob's saying, doesn't that power agent already have an assistant or a coordinator? I would think they would. And they may. And that's where, part of the problem comes in, is that that's what they think they need, is just, a coordinator, a transaction coordinator. And I'm talking about bringing a lot more than that to the business, because I feel like the details of a real estate transaction, the management of it, I think it is important. And that's why I was successful. I was not a power prospector. I wasn't even a big SOIer. Really, that's not what I did. That's not why I was successful, was because I was great at lunch dating. Lunch dating was a part of my business model, but once I was rolling after my probably second year in real estate, I did squat with my sphere of influence. Honest to God, I did mass emails and I did some postal mailings. But I didn't do anything with my sphere after I was rocking and rolling because I didn't have to. I was providing great service and getting plenty of business from that. So it was, I mean, a sphere of influence. Anyway, that's not answering your question. But there's a lot more, I believe, there's a lot more to providing an exceptional client experience than a transaction coordinator is necessarily going to want to provide. I mean, so anyway, it's, again, looking for the right relationship. And, like for me, my partner and I mean, we were at the right stage in our careers. So it wasn't like she was this massive top producer and here I was, down here. We were both doing well, but we both recognized that there were strengths that we were missing. So, if you've got $1 million producer, like makes $1 million in your office, they may not want to partner up with you to, they may have the staff in place to take care of that. But, somebody that's, sort of maybe up and coming, doing really well, but realizing, like, the person that wants to do 36 transactions a year, but doesn't think that they can keep organized to do it, that might be a good relationship. I tell you, if I found a real estate agent who I felt had the heart, who I felt had the motivation, who had the personality, but they felt like I can't do 36, 50 transactions a year because I just can't handle it, I can handle it. I can handle that. You go out and get the business in, you go get it, I can handle it. So I guess maybe that's a better message is, you get somebody that is good at going out and getting the business, bring it home to me, put it on my desk. I got you. You go get some more. So I think that I would almost want to do that now. I love the details of a real estate business. So, okay. Does that answer the question? Okay, Jennifer, I find myself invited to my clients' social events on a fairly regular basis. I simply don't want to go. Do I have to? Great question. All right, the answer is sometimes. So here's the thing, is you're invited to a social event. That's nice. That's a compliment, right? So, I mean, somebody thinks enough of you to invite you to whatever it is that they're doing and they would like for you to attend. So what I would do in this situation is analyze each invitation on its own merits. You don't need to make a blanket statement. It says, I'm never going to go to my client stuff. that's just not my thing. And you think about venues or, these sorts of events that you're comfortable in. I am not comfortable at weddings. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about a wedding, but I have never gone to a wedding that I wasn't dying to leave. I just don't like weddings. So, I mean, if I have to go, I'll go. But it's not something that if I have a choice in the matter that I would say, oh, wow, wedding, cool. However, like a going away party for somebody that I know and care about, I'm comfortable with that. So kind of maybe just give some thought to what sorts of events you feel like you'd be comfortable in and ones that you wouldn't. And just analyze every single one. I mean, maybe you're just super busy right now. Somebody invites you to something on Saturday and, I don't have it in me to do it. Don't say that, okay? But, decline that one. If it's, for example, the last 2 years of my real estate career, I was single. And so I would get invited to this stuff and I felt like I had to go, but I would go by myself. And a lot of them, were families and, kids, and there I am, a single female, and I even felt like I got glared at, by some of the wives because I was there by myself. So, I did one of those and I was like, I'm never doing that again. It was so awkward. I literally walked out the door in tears. I faked a phone call, walked out the door, and I had tears coming down my face. And in fact, it wasn't Facebook, but it was, I think I had a forum, the Sell Whistle forum. And so this was maybe 2008, 2009. I came home and I actually typed out the experience on the forum. And it was kind of the Facebook of then. And I was like, this was horrible. I literally came home in tears. And so many people chimed on and were like, oh my God, Jennifer, so it was kind of funny. Anyway, what was the question? I get invited to my clients' parties. So here's a couple tips though. If you do decide that it's something you should go to or you want to go to, first of all, if you RSVP to go, don't not go. If you're even thinking you might not go, then just decline or don't even answer at all. Because if you RSVP that you're going and you don't show up, that's going to do a lot more harm to this relationship than, just not answering, not responding, or just saying, I'm sorry, I can't, I already have another obligation. So that was my problem, is I would, RSVP because I knew I needed to go, and then I wouldn't. And it's rude, and people do notice that. So don't do that. Just decline it. Or, shoot, you could even say, you know what, I have something that night. If that changes, then, absolutely, I'd love to come. But for right now, I'm a decline. And then if you're feeling jazzy and you want to go, then you can go. What's another tip? Here's something I learned a couple years ago, is if you're not comfortable at parties, or if you're worried you're not going to be comfortable at parties. One time I showed up to a party early, because I'm always early, and it was actually pretty cool because I ended up sort of being kind of the host because I was the first or second one there. And so I sort of, kind of placed my feet in the ground, and I became somewhat of the hostess. And so as people started to arrive, I was already there. And it really, I don't know if that makes sense, but it kind of gave me some confidence that, you're coming to my party, which I'm actually, I'm not a party thrower. Again, we're not having a Tupperware party at my house. But if I am in control of my socializing, if I have, if I decide I'm going to have a dinner party at my house, or a barbecue, or, wine tasting or something, I actually look forward to that. I'm in control, and I'm the hostess, which means I have a role. I have something to do. So that may be something to consider as well. But, again, real estate is a people business in that you need to have relationships with people. So you don't want to just categorically decline invitations that you get, because again, it is flattering. It is, that is a nice thing for these people to do, to invite you. Now, the original question said clients' social events. Now, if that's literal, like my real estate clients, then I would say definitely do what you can to go. If it's truly your real estate clients' social events. Now, the distinction here is that a lot of people will call their sphere of influence their clients. And I correct people on that a lot. Are they your clients, or are they just people you know? Oh, it's just people I know. So if it's your clients, that really is a golden opportunity for you to be the real estate agent, because you're going to get introduced as the real estate agent, aren't you? Okay. And what better way to, be introduced to people, especially if these people were impressed with you. So anyway, I meant to address that up front. Okay, next question. Well, I already answered this. How can I be more comfortable at networking events? I absolutely dread them. What's the answer? Don't go. Mark networking events off your list. Don't go. Okay, I'm not good at small talk. Any tips to respond to people who ask, how's the market? Oh my gosh, guys, this is a golden opportunity. Somebody asking you how the market is actually not really small talk, because you're a real estate agent. You should know how the market is. So if you know how the market is, then you can answer that question, and it's not small talk. It's actually intelligent conversation. Now, sure, is the person just being polite? Yeah, maybe. You say, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and they say, oh, that's nice. How's the market? But they're asking. So it would be really very rude not to answer the question intelligently. But, what you need to do as an introvert or an extrovert, what you need to do is have an answer. So constantly have an answer, not just for if you're going to a Super Bowl party next week or whatever, but you always need to have an answer to how, how's the market? And you should know. So maybe, if you're out in the market a lot, if you're working, if you have several listings or you have some buyers or whatever, you should have an opinion. Well, how's the market? And you can come up with a rap. I don't want to say an elevator speech because it's not, but if you're busy, great. You can say, market's amazing. I have never been this busy in my life, and I'm having a ball with it. Or if it's not busy, which, can be the case, is, it's a little slow right now. I'm not as busy as I was earlier in the year, but it's okay. I could use the break, but it's all right. The market's all right, and nice homes are selling. But, it has slowed down from the craziness of last year. So you don't have to have a clever answer. You don't have to have a pitchy answer. Well, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell real estate? It's a great time. There's that tax break coming up, or there's not a tax break coming up that I know of, but just how is the market? And be prepared to answer that question. Now, something you might want to do just for fun is have numbers available. And I don't mean days on market and, that nonsense. I mean, like, this is something I thought would be kind of fun, is let's say that it is pretty busy. We're heading into the spring season, which at least in Denver was a very busy time. And so maybe something you could, I'm just throwing this out there, is every Monday, find out how many showings your office listings had over the weekend. If, you use a showing service or the office does it or whatever, is, I have no idea what that number would look like, but, then if somebody says, hey, you're in real estate, how's the market? Oh my gosh, my office had 470 showings over the weekend or last week or, some number. I mean, that's an answer that, is kind of interesting, kind of fun. And, I don't know if that's information you can get. But, just little things you could, throw out. Nobody wants to hear market stats, but maybe there's a market stat that's interesting. I don't know. Think about it. So, but just have an answer, and that could be the golden question. So, and if you have a niche market, or if you have a specialty, you can throw that in there as saying, well, I work mostly with older homes in the middle of town, and that market is booming. Okay. You didn't pitch somebody, you just told him what you do. And if he's remotely interested or wants to continue the conversation, say, oh, really, what part of town do you specialize in? And you say, well, I specialize in this part, and, also in this, open the conversation. So this is golden. You can get people to ask you how the market is, you're golden. Okay. Check for questions. All right. My company has social events throughout the year, and I'd rather not attend. Do I have to? A little bit different from the question before. The other question was my clients have events. This is my real estate company has events. Do I have to go? No, I never did. Unless it was something that I actually kind of wanted to do. And in the later years of my career, I was with a cool little RE/MAX office that I really enjoyed the other agents. It was a really good fit for me. After 10 years of being in offices that weren't good fits for me, this one really was. And I actually did go to the social things and I enjoyed them. So if you would enjoy them, then go. If you're not enjoying them, but you feel like you have to because it's the culture, I wouldn't worry about it. If it's a strong culture and you are going to get crap for not going, then that may not be the greatest office for you, whatever. But, hanging out with other real estate agents is not a bad thing. But if you have limited social energy and, your office is one of these that does things all the time, just say no unless you're really in the mood and don't worry about it. Okay. That's not going to make or break your career going to company sponsored events unless there's going to be tremendous pressure for you to go, in which case, I don't know. There's probably pressure to do other things that you're not real comfortable doing. And, nobody's going to worry too much about whether or not you're attending. I will say though, I was in a rah-rah office once for a little while where they did a lot of things together and they did happy hours and they did, and I never participated because I was actually really busy and I didn't have time, and I wouldn't have wanted to anyway, but I didn't have time. It's very cliquey. And I don't think they liked me much, but I'm used to that. I'm actually not the most likable person in the world. So I know you can't believe that, can you? But I'm not. All right. Okay, I already kind of answered that one. Okay, I'm more comfortable working from home. Is that okay, or should I suck it up and go into the office more? I worked from home almost literally from day one and was very comfortable there. I never, that's not true. I had a desk at, well, I did have desks, but I hardly ever went there. In fact, the only time I would go to the office to work is if I took floor time, and I would just take stacks of papers, stacks of work for me to do. And as soon as I was through with my work that I brought, I wanted to go home. So sitting around in the office was just not productive time for me at all. And I knew that about myself, and it still isn't. In fact, I was mentioning before the show that I have really bad internet. And from time to time, I thought, I should go get an office in town, where I can have high-speed internet, because I would be so much more productive. Not going to happen. No, I work from home. So if your preference is to work from home, absolutely honor that preference. There are benefits to being in the office. And so, maybe try to do it sometimes, but as far as, your business model, don't think that by forcing yourself to go into your real estate office that you're going to change. You're probably not. So, give it a try if you want. But to me, being in a real estate office is exhausting, and I'm completely unproductive there. So feel free to honor that and just say no to going to the office. Okay. This was an interesting one. It's really resonated with me. I'll tell you why. I received a post-closing evaluation from a client who said I didn't follow up with them afterwards and it hurt their feelings. I'm just not a warm and fuzzy kind of gal. What can I do differently? I can so relate to this. So, basically she's saying, there's two things going on here, but the message that I got between the lines is, we had an agent, she probably did a really good job for the client, but she just, didn't take them to dinner afterwards. She didn't, follow up afterwards and, take them a closing gift, stop by, whatever. She wasn't social with them afterwards. And so they felt like she didn't care. Yeah, that's me. I like to get the job done, and I do a very good job when I get it done. But when the job is over, I don't want to chit chat. I don't want to small talk. I actually didn't enjoy closings because I felt like I'd done my job. The closing is just a ceremony where everyone's going to sit around and, chit chat, and I didn't want to do it. So I actually really, really didn't like closings. And that's a weird thing to say, I know, but I didn't like them. So here's how to fix. You're not going to fix whether or not you're a warm and fuzzy kind of gal. Probably I'm not. I try, but even after I made a concerted effort to be more warm and fuzzy and more empathetic, I still get people complaining in my rescue that I'm not. And Jennifer needs to be friendlier. Jennifer needs to be more. And it's like I try, I really do, but I'm just not that good at it. But anyway, here's what you need to do. And every real estate agent needs to do this. Extrovert, introvert, I don't care. What you need to do is at the end of a transaction, at the end of after the closing, is 2 to 3 days after that property closes, you need to call your client, whether that's a buyer or seller. You need to call that client, find out how the move went, ask them if they had any issues, offer to help them if they had any issues. Now, you might be going, I don't want to do that. What if they had a problem? You want them to have a problem. You want them to have a problem that you can solve, because in all likelihood, you can solve it. If they had a problem you can't solve, well, then you can't solve it. But a lot of times in a real estate transaction, something went wrong during the move in or move out or, something, and they may or may not tell you about it. But if it's something that you can help with, you are going to, what's the word? Consolidate? No. What's the word when you make it? What's the word? Anyway, you're going to solidify. Thank you. You're going to solidify that relationship if you make that phone call and you offer to help. And God bless you, if they have something you can fix and you fix it, then you're going to be golden in their eyes. You don't have to take them to dinner. You don't have to, put them on a drip mail campaign or a send out cards campaign. You just solidified yourself as the rock star real estate agent. So make sure that you do that after every closing. And if they have a problem to solve, awesome. This is a great opportunity. Okay, how do you feel about that? So another thing you can do during the transaction that I get huge resistance to this when I advise it, it's kind of along the same lines though, is especially with sellers, this would be more for sellers, but contact the seller maybe 2 weeks in, ask them how you're doing. You don't have to say, how am I doing? What I would say is, I just wanted to check in. We're 2 weeks in. Everything's kind of rolling. How are we doing? How do you feel about the process? Is there anything you need from me that you're not getting or anything you thought would be different? Just do a check-in. And here's the benefit of doing that. This is kind of off subject, but I think you introverts are going to like this. Okay, first of all, if there's something that is bothering them, you want to know about it. I mean, you don't want to know about it, but you need to know about it. So if there's something that they feel is kind of, wait a minute, you didn't tell me you weren't going to be attending showings. What's going on with that? Or, whatever. But if there's something wrong, you want to know about it. In all likelihood, they're fine, and so you might get a testimonial out of it. You might, when you're asking somebody, how are things going? Are you comfortable with how it's going? Are you comfortable with our level of communication? And kind of if you do this via email, you might get a really good testimonial back that you'd be able to use. But imagine people don't do that. A service provider, they don't call you and check in and see how you're doing. And if they do, wouldn't you think that's pretty cool? So be that cool person, be that cool real estate agent who calls to check in and says, how are you feeling? Are you happy? And this is not the time to ask for referrals, and this is not the time to ask for a testimonial. You're truly calling to check in, just making sure that everything's going well and that they're satisfied. What do you think of that? As an introvert, how do I get over call reluctance? I find myself praying that the person won't answer the phone so I can leave a message. Okay, who has call reluctance out there? I'm guessing a lot of you do. This is kind of a teaser because I'm not really going to answer the question as thoroughly as I want to, because I'm going to do a whole show, I think it's in April, about call reluctance, because anyway, I have a lot to say. I have an hour's worth of stuff to say about call reluctance. So I'm kind of excited about that show. Is that weird? Because I don't like to make phone calls either. So I get it, but I'm going to do a whole show on that. Basically, though, God, there's so much I could say. I don't know how to answer this shortly. I'm just going to encourage you to not give in to that. I'm finding I'm on the phone a lot. We kind of all went through this period of not ever being on the phone, that everything's a text, everything's, whatever, text and Facebook messages. And, you had to text somebody before you called them, to make sure that it was okay to call. I'm picking up the phone a lot. It's kind of like I've come full circle. I'm picking up the phone a lot and talking to people, and it's awesome. We accomplish stuff. The relationship's better. Even young people. Okay, I'm not talking about old people. I'm talking about a lot of the people in my rescue are young, and they're okay with me calling them. Okay, it's not like, oh no, the millennials or the whoever they are, they don't like to talk on the phone. Well, people in my world do. And so don't just give in to I hate to make phone calls and nobody wants them anyway. I still think that phone calls have a place in your business and a place in your life. And so anyway, I don't know if I've loaded up that show yet or not that you can register in, but I am going to be talking a lot about call reluctance, and I think it's in April. So, okay. Hey, this is a good final question. I got pressured into attending a sales pitch for an expensive coaching program. It sounds icky to me, but how do I argue with the success other agents claim to have in it? Okay, can anybody relate? You go to some big seminar that's going to teach you how to be successful in real estate, and it turns out to be a pitch for a coaching product or program or something, and it's really expensive, and everybody else is signing up, and the people who have done it are telling you how amazing it is and how successful they were, and you need to do it. And so you do it, and you fork over your $800 or $1,800 or whatever it is. And then you go, oh dear, what did I just do? Especially when you start to see the materials, or you have your first coaching call and they tell you that you need to call up, 50 people a day and ask them if they know anybody who wants to buy or sell real estate, or they're going to send you out to the mall and you have to come back with 10 leads, or something like that. You don't want to do that. Well, you didn't want to do it yesterday either, so why did you sign up for it? So this is where, remember, one of the ground rules I talked about in the beginning was programs created for extroverts are not going to work for you. So don't think you're going to become an extrovert because you just wrote a $1,000 check to a training program. You're not. You're not going to change. You're not going to want to do it. And that $1,000 was thrown away. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't training programs out there for you. It doesn't mean that you couldn't even sign up for some of these and tweak them, maybe. But the traditional, in-your-face, boot camp, suck it up, just do it, those programs are not going to work for you. So just don't do them. Just say no. Don't just do it. Just say no. What was I going to say? Oh, well, so how do you explain the success that other people have with them? Well, a couple things. First of all, the people who are signing up for them that are having success, it is probably a program that suits their personality. And it's like, you can be wildly successful knocking on doors or cold calling if that's your personality. And so you buy a Tom Ferry program, or whoever the door knockers are, you buy that program, you're going to be wildly successful if that's your personality and you're good at it and you like doing it. Okay. Me, I don't want to go knock on a door. I'm not going to go knock on a door. So it wouldn't work for me. Is it working for somebody else? Sure. Not going to work for me. All right. So just, before you sign up for something like this, find out what it's all about. And if it sounds distasteful to you, it's not going to sound any better tomorrow. So don't do it. Okay. Other people are having success with it. A big part of that is that they are doing something. They are, God forbid, they are cold calling people. They are knocking on doors. They are begging their friends for referrals. They are sending out, mass mailers every 35 seconds. They are calling expired listings, for sale by owners and expired listings, and they have 5 different phone lines going at once. They're doing something. And that's going to work better than not doing something. And that's one of the issues I find with the Sell with Soul crowd is you're so relieved to find out that you don't have to do all of these other things. You can be successful, but you have to do something. And in Sell with Soul, there's 2 things I'm going to pretty much tell you to do. One of them is to nurture your sphere of influence. Big picture, huge picture question. Stay in your comfort zone and nurture your sphere of influence, and provide an exceptional client experience. Provide exceptional service. Be an exceptional real estate agent. If you do those 2 things and you do them with enthusiasm and you're out there in the world doing them, then that will work. Okay. But sitting at home, not making cold calls, not knocking on doors, not calling your friends and begging them for referrals, sitting at home, waiting for the phone to ring, that's not going to work. And it sounds obvious when I say it out loud, doesn't it? And I don't mean to be insulting, but sometimes when agents have contacted me and they say, well, I'm doing your program. What program? I don't really have a program, but what I'm doing Sell with Soul, and it's just not working. Okay. What are you doing? Exactly. Well, and I'm talking on the phone to these people. I don't know the faces that they're making, but, I get the impression that they maybe sent out an announcement letter, 6 months ago, and they invited a few friends to lunch, and, the friend said no. And so they're like, it's just not working. It's not working for me. Okay. No, you do need to do stuff, and you do need to do stuff every day with enthusiasm and, commitment. So, all right. Okay, guys. So that's it. We do have another show next week. If you go to sellwithsoul.com and click on events, I am loaded up through the 1st of April, I think. So you can go ahead and sign up for all of those if you want, or just wait for your email announcement. So appreciated y'all being here today and the feedback. And remember to get your contest entries into me, and I will pick a winner in the middle of the night and compile the favorite tips. So, all right, everybody. See ya. Thanks.